We are entrusting the day and the endeavor to the Lord. Let's go. Welcome to my channel where I visit many good books but live in the Bible. My name is Sarah Christine, and today I would like to talk about none other than A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian by Marina Lewycka. I picked this up a couple of years ago when I was just browsing my favorite aisle at Half Price Books, which is mass market paperbacks, and the spine caught my eye. The cover got my interest because it promised extreme funniness, and I can attest that this book is one of the funniest I have ever read. And then the back of the book got me hooked because I love family dramedies, and the synopsis made me think that I would probably love this. And I did. For the brief summary, I'm just going to read the back of the book that hooked me because it is chef's kiss. 2 years after my mother died, my father fell in love with a glamorous blonde Ukrainian divorcee. He was 84 and she was 36. She exploded into our lives like a fluffy pink grenade, churning up the murky water, bringing to the surface a sludge of sloughed off memories, giving the family ghost a kick up the backside. Sisters Vera and Nadezhda must put aside a lifetime of feuding to save their émigré engineer father from voluptuous gold digger Valentina. With her proclivity for green satin underwear and boil-in-the-bag cuisine, she will stop at nothing in her pursuit of Western wealth. But the sisters' campaign to oust Valentina unearths family secrets, uncovers 50 years of Europe's darkest history, and sends them back to roots they'd much rather forget. If you're wondering why this book is called A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian, that is because throughout the novel we get little excerpts of the literary masterpiece that the émigré engineer father Nikolai is writing as the story progresses, which is called A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian. And you may not expect those excerpts to be hilarious, but they are, because the historical record that Nikolai is writing gets colored and curated to reflect his mood about his domestic situation, which devolves pretty quickly. To put it bluntly, there is a distinct lack of marital bliss after Nikolai weds his 36-year-old missus, and that gets reflected in his manuscript, A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian. For instance, on page 136, after Valentina has burned his sausages, refused to feed Nikolai, told him to shut up, and flicked a wet tea towel at him, we are told, "The pen is mightier than the tea towel, and father writes his own revenge." And we get an italicized excerpt from A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian, which says this: "Never was the technology of peace in the form of the tractor transformed into a weapon of war more ferociously than with the creation of the Valentine tank. This tank was developed by the British but produced in Canada, where many Ukrainian engineers were skilled in the production of tractors. The Valentine tank was so named because it was first born into the world on the day of St. Valentine in 1938. But there was nothing lovely about it. Clumsy and heavy, with an old-fashioned gearbox, it was nevertheless deadly. Indeed, a true killing machine." Yeah, Valentina is certainly no little missus, and even less a Disney princess. And at one point, Nadia, Nikolai's younger daughter, who is the narrator of this story, confronts Valentina about how her father is being treated, only to be rendered speechless by Valentina's argumentative coup de grace when she pulls up her shirt and reveals her bra. On page 99, we get that interaction. Nadia confronts Vera. "Why should my father pay for your cars, for your telephone bills? You have work. You earn money. I have worked myself up into a lather of righteous anger," and the words come pouring out, some English, some Ukrainian, mixed up any old how. "You father buy me nothing." She leans forward and shouts into my face, so close that I can feel a fine shower of saliva on my skin. I can smell armpits and hair lacquer. "No car, no jewels, no clothes." She pronounces it in 2 syllables, clothes. "No cosmetic, no underclothes." She yanks up her t-shirt top to display those ferocious breasts bursting like twin warheads out of an underwired, ribbon-strapped, lycra-paneled, lace-trimmed green satin rocket launcher of a bra. "I buy all. I work. I buy." When it comes to bosoms, I have to admit defeat. I am lost for words. Honestly, there should be a literary prize for describing a bra as a green satin rocket launcher. in a book that also discusses Nietzsche and Schopenhauer. In all seriousness though, I would so recommend A Short History of Chapters in Ukrainian just based on the comedic factors alone. But it isn't only a comedy, it is a dramedy. And while the drama might have been incited by Valentina's appearance, it is largely sustained by the revelation and outworking of Nadia, Nikolai's, and Vera's various foibles, which are respectively 1. Nadia's willingness to let her personal interests trump her purported principles, 2. Nikolai's insistence on learning things the hard way, and 3. Vera's predilection for learning the wrong lesson. All of which are very human traits. They're not just exclusive to Nadia, Nikolai, and Vera, and they're what I would like to talk about in greater depth today. First up, Nadia's and our willingness to let personal interests trump our purported principles. From the jump, Nadia, our narrator, is conflicted about the Valentina situation, not only because it's pretty gross to her that her father, who is 84, is going to marry a 36-year-old, someone who is younger than her, but also because their marriage is, from Nadia's perspective, clearly an attempt on Valentina's end to just get legal status in England, because there is no reason that a 36-year-old busty Ukrainian would have any genuine interest in a crusty 84-year-old man. However, the difficulty for Nadia is that she is a self-professed liberal and socialist sociologist, so her natural sympathies and her purported principles have long been on the side and in favor of the immigrant. Valentina and her father's marriage therefore causes a fair bit of cognitive dissonance until Nadia finally decides, you know what, I might have been pro-immigration, but now I am absolutely anti-foreign strumpet shacking up with my dad. And she goes as far as to write a letter to the Home Office saying on page 105, I don't care about being a good liberal anymore. I want this woman taken away. On page 119, Nadia admits, it feels uncomfortable at first to step out of my soft-soled liberal shoes into the stilettos of Mrs. Flog 'em and send 'em home. But after a while, the new shoes mold to my feet. In Nadia, I think we see a not unusual phenomenon, which is when purported principles and personal interest come into conflict, the purported principles almost always get altered or trashed, which is not typically seen as a good thing. Normally, we hope that the higher principle prevails, that it would remain, and we would simply alter ourselves, our interests, to fit into that frame. As in the incomparable film Bride Wars, when Kate Hudson's character, having gained a little bit of weight, yells at her fiancé, who suggested that she simply get the dress altered to fit her more voluptuous frame.
You don't alter Vera Wang to fit you, you alter yourself to fit Vera.
I love that movie, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately because over the holidays I had a conversation with someone who very enthusiastically endorsed the Thomas Jefferson Bible because he, quote, cut out all the bad stuff and just left the good stuff in. When I heard that, I was like that man in Les Mis.
I am agog. I am aghast.
I was agog. I was aghast because if ever there was something that you don't alter to fit you, but you alter yourself to fit it, the Bible is it. Particularly when 2 Timothy 3:16 through 17 tells us that all scripture is God-breathed and is profitable for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. Though to be fair, sometimes that teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training will hurt, particularly if you choose to ignore God's word and go your own way first. I have some experience with that. Which brings me to the second thing I want to discuss in depth, which is Nikolai's and our insistence on learning things the hard way. Page 1. It all started with a phone call. My father's voice, quavery with excitement, crackles down the line. Good news, Nadezhda. I'm getting married. I remember the rush of blood to my head. Please let it be a joke. Oh, he's gone bonkers. Oh, you foolish old man. But I don't say these things. Oh, that's nice, Papa, I say. Yes, she is coming with her son from Ukraina, Ternopil, in Ukraina. I don't know how to say that. Ukraina. He sighs, breathing in the remembered scent of mown hay and cherry blossom. But I catch the distinct synthetic whiff of new Russia. Her name is Valentina, he tells me, but she is more like Venus, Botticelli's Venus rising from the waves. Golden hair, charming eyes, superior breasts. When you see her, you will understand. The grown-up in me is indulgent. How sweet, this last late flowering love. The daughter in me is outraged. The traitor, the randy old beast, and our mother barely 2 years dead. I am angry and curious. I can't wait to see her, this woman who is usurping my mother. She sounds gorgeous. When can I meet her? After marriage, you can meet. I think it might be better if we could meet her first, don't you? Why you want to meet? You not marrying her? He knows something's not quite right, but he thinks he can get away with it. But Papa, have you really thought this through? It seems very sudden. I mean, she must be a lot younger than you. I modulate my voice carefully to conceal any sign of disapproval, like a worldly, wise adult dealing with a love-struck adolescent. 36. She's 36 and I'm 84. So what? He pronounces it vat. There is a snap in his voice. He has anticipated this question. Well, it's quite an age difference. Nadezhda, I never thought you could be so bourgeois. He puts the emphasis on the last syllable. Wa. No, he has me on the defensive. It's just that there could be problems. There will be no problem, says Papa. He has anticipated all problem. He has known her for 3 months. She has an uncle in Selby and has come to visit him on a tourist visa. She wants to make a new life for herself and her son in the West. A good life, with good job, good money, nice car, absolutely no Lada, no Skoda, good education for son. Must be Oxford, Cambridge, nothing less. She is an educated woman, by the way, has a diploma in pharmacy. She will easily find well-paid work here. Once she learns English. In the meantime, he is helping her with her English, and she is cleaning the house and looking after him. She sits on his lap and allows him to fondle her breasts. They are happy together. Did I hear that right? She sits on my father's lap and he fondles her superior Botticellian breasts? Oh, well, I keep my voice steady, but rage burns in my heart. Life's just full of surprises. I hope it works out for you, but Papa, time to be blunt. I can see why you want to marry her, but have you asked yourself why she wants to marry you? Tak, yes, I know. Passport, visa, work permit. So what? Cross, croaky voice. Nadia goes on to sort of enumerate the various issues that could arise, but her dad doesn't want to hear it. He coughs and sputters on the other end of the telephone. He has fallen out with all his friends over this. If needs be, he will disown his daughters. He will stand alone against the world, alone, apart from this beautiful woman by his side. His words can barely keep up with the excitement of his big idea. But Papa, and one thing more, Nadia, don't tell Vera. That's the big sister. Not much chance of that. I haven't spoken to my sister for 2 years, since our row after Mother's funeral. But Papa, Nadezhda, you have to understand that in some respects, the man is governed by different impulses to the woman. Papa, please spare me the biological determinism. Oh, what the hell? Let him learn the hard way. Unfortunately for Nikolai, instead of listening to his daughters, he opts to learn the hard way. And sure enough, not long after saying I do, Nikolai comes to the realization that his buxom bride is more volcano than vixen. On page 104, Nadia calls her father after the marriage. I phone my father. I hear the phone crackle, then his breathless panting as he picks it up. Hello? Nadezhda, good you phoned. What's up, Papa? Well, not so good with Valentina. Some problems. She is now acting as if she rather dislikes me, telling me I am inferior being, insect to be squashed, imbecile to be locked away, dead corpse to be put in ground, other things like this. He mumbles incoherently and coughs a lot. His voice is croaky, as if dragging the words out is causing him pain. Oh, Papa, I don't know what to say, but he hears reproof in my voice. Of course, it's not entirely her fault. She has been placed under severe pressure by delays from the Home Office. And besides this, her work is very hard. In day working at nursing home, in evening working at hotel. She gets tired, and when tired, easily angry. I am filled with rage against her, rage against him. But Papa, anybody could see this was going to happen. Anybody but you. He didn't see it before, but he certainly sees it now. And I talked a little bit about this in my Pet Cemetery review, but we are told in Proverbs 22:3 that a wise person sees danger and takes cover, but fools keep going and are punished. Unfortunately, Nikolai is in that latter camp, and to that end, there is a wonderful poem by A. Housman that I love, which does a great job of depicting what happens when someone ignores wisdom in favor of learning from experience, and it goes like this. When I was 1 in 20, I heard a wise man say, give crowns and pounds and guineas, but not your heart away. Give pearls away and rubies, but keep your fancy free. But I was 1 in 20, no use to talk to me. When I was 1 in 20, I heard him say again, the heart out of its bosom was ne'er given in vain. 'Tis paid with sighs aplenty and sold for endless rue. And I am 2 and 20, and oh, 'tis true, 'tis true. Now Nikolai was 86, not 21, which just goes to show that Taylor Swift was correct when she observed that some people get older and just never wiser.
I have this thing where I get older, but just never wiser.
In fact, according to scripture, we are told that age is no guarantee of wisdom. In Psalm 119, 97 through 100, we are told, oh, how I love your law. It is my meditation all the day. Your commandments make me wiser than my enemies, for they are ever mine. I have more insight than my teachers, because your words are my meditation. I have more understanding than my elders, because I obey your commands. Per the Bible, it is obedience to God, not experience, that guarantees understanding. And I think we can clearly see from a short history of tractors in Ukrainian that, yeah, age, i.e. more experience, is no guarantee of greater understanding, because Nikolai was old, but certainly still foolish. So my advice is don't learn the hard way. Fix in your head that experience is a hard teacher, whereas God is a loving Father who, we are told in James 1:5, gives generously to all without finding fault if we would only ask. So do that is my recommendation. Humbly ask instead of impetuously and foolishly act. But if you've already gone ahead and acted, or else are coming off of a hard learning experience, it is important to not learn the wrong lesson. Which brings me to Nadia's big sis, Vera, and her and our predilection for learning the wrong lesson. Part of the family history that emerges throughout the course of a short history of tractors in Ukrainian is the fact that Nadia and Vera had very different experiences growing up. 10 years apart in age, Vera was born in the Soviet bloc and grew up in wartime, whereas Nadia was born in post-war peaceful England, knowing nothing of the family's painful history. On page 313, Nadia reflects on their distinct experiences. Once there was a war baby and a peacetime baby. War baby was born on the eve of the greatest conflict the world has known, into a country already ravaged by famine and choked in the mad grip of a paranoid dictator. Nadia then goes on to summarize the various trials and tribulations that her mom and dad and her big sis faced as they fled into the West, only to end up at a camp where they thought they'd be safe, to find that wasn't exactly the case. To War Baby's dismay, the camp was not a circle of tents and tethered horses, as her mother had described the Cossack encampments, but a maze of concrete buildings and high barbed wire fences. Then one day, the winds of war blew Mother and War Baby to another camp, and Father was there. It was like the first camp, but bigger and more frightening, for there were many other people there apart from the Ukrainians, and the guards carried whips. Something terrible happened in that camp that it would be better to forget, better not to know that it had happened at all. Then suddenly, it was no longer wartime. It was peacetime. The family boarded a huge ship and sailed away across the sea to another country where people talked in a funny language, and though they were still in a camp, there was more to eat, and everybody was kind to them. And as if to celebrate the coming of peace to the world, another baby was born into the family. Her parents called her Nadezhda, after those Nadezhdas they had left behind, for the name means hope. Peacetime Baby was born in a country that had just been victorious in war. Although times were hard, the mood of the country was hopeful. Those able to work would work for the benefit of all. Those in need would be provided for, and children would be given milk, orange juice, and cod liver oil, so they would grow strong. Peacetime Baby lapped all three fluids greedily and grew up stubborn and rebellious. War Baby grew up into Big Sis. During the first chunk of the story, Nadia is pretty ignorant of Vera's experiences because the family just never talked about it. But she sees glimmers of the difference. And on page 207, after Vera says something that strikes Nadia as just very cynical, she thinks to herself, "Oh, Big Sis, what a nose you have for sniffing out the tainted, the soiled, the venal, the compromised. When did you learn to see so darkly? Now, obviously, Vera's early dark experiences have given her a very different outlook on life than the views espoused by her peacetime baby sister. And on page 254, those finally kind of come to a head after Nadia's husband, Mike, makes a toast to the triumph of the human spirit. And Vera says, "The triumph of the human spirit," Vera snorts. "My dear, that is charming, but quite naive. Let me tell you, the human spirit is mean and selfish. The only impulse is to preserve itself. Everything else is pure sentimentality." That's what you always say, Vera. But what if the human spirit is noble and generous and creative, empathetic, imaginative, spiritual, all those things we try to be, and sometimes it's just not strong enough to withstand all the meanness and selfishness in the world? Spiritual. Really, Nadia? Where do you think the meanness and selfishness come from if it is not from the human spirit? Do you really believe that there is an evil force stalking the world? No. The evil comes from the human heart. You see, I know what people are like deep down. And I don't know? You are fortunate that you have always lived in the world of illusion and sentiment. Some things it is better not to know. Tiredness settles over me like a damp blanket. We have been talking for almost an hour, and I haven't the energy to argue anymore. Vera, I'd better go to bed now. Good night. Good night, Nadia. Don't worry too much about what I said. I won't. And yet, this dark knowledge of Vera's troubles me. What if she's right? Now, I think Vera is absolutely more right than Nadia when it comes to the heart of man. We are told in Jeremiah 17:9 that it is desperately wicked, like no good, very bad. However, Vera's total and imperial pessimism is a sign to me that she has learned the wrong lesson from her hard experiences. That lesson being that goodness doesn't exist, period, and that anyone who thinks differently is a naive baby sis. In that respect, Vera is very much like the aforementioned poet A. Housman, whose other poem, To My Perils, which I love, goes like this. I to my perils of cheat and charmer came clad in armor by stars benign. Hope lies to mortals, and most believe her. But man's deceiver was never mine. The thoughts of the others were light and fleeting, of lovers' meeting, of luck and fame. But mine were of trouble, and mine were steady. So I was ready when trouble came. Vera is ready for trouble 24/7 because she has come to expect nothing less thanks to her hard experiences. Honestly, Vera kind of reminds me of Fontaine from Les Mis when she says that life has killed the dream I dreamed. That's a pretty good summary of how Vera sees things, but I honestly think a more accurate summary of how she, and Fontaine for that matter, sees things would be that men have killed the dreams that they dreamed. And we are told in Numbers 23:19 that God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. Does he speak and will he not act? Does he promise and will he not fulfill? Spoiler alert, he will. And here's the thing, I think learning the wrong lesson from hard experiences is almost always a symptom of leaving God out of the equation, of getting down and out and forgetting that God can always come in and rewrite the script of even our worst experiences, like what happens in Genesis 50:20 when Joseph, after having been sold into slavery by his brothers, has risen to be the second in command of all of Egypt, and his family comes to him seeking reprieve from famine, and he tells his brothers, the brothers who sold him into slavery, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. Yes, God can rewrite the script, and more than that, he can also bring restoration. We are told in 1 Peter 5:10 that after we have suffered for a little while, the God of all grace, who called us into eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, establish, strengthen, and confirm us. And when that happens, the dreams killed by life and men will be resurrected, because we are told in Psalm 126, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were as those who dream. Our mouths were filled with laughter and our tongues with joyful shouts. It was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are full of joy. Restore our fortunes, Lord, like the watercourses of the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. The one who goes along weeping, carrying their seeds, will surely return with shouts of joy, carrying their sheaves. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this was edifying, encouraging, and entertaining, and I hope you will continue to join me as I visit many good books, but live in the Bible.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my greatest thought, by day or by night. Waking or sleeping, thy presence my light.
If you want practical ideas of how to avoid learning the wrong lesson and how to not see things so darkly after having had bad experiences, I would point you to this wonderful little book by Shemaya Gonzalez called Undaunted Joy, where she talks about so many of her experiences and really cultivates not just delight, but also spiritual resilience. Oh, Lord, I don't want another eye infection.